Hi guys, it's Jessica here, and welcome to this edition of the Quotation Bank Revision Tutorials, helping you with your GCSE English Literature exams. In these videos, we take a key quotation from the text and provide a great model for how to go about analysing it precisely, and provide you with the framework for an excellent revision activity you can do on your own. In this episode, we're looking at Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, following the format of our Quotation Bank study guides, where we take 25 key quotations and explore interpretations, literary techniques, analysis, and suggestions on which essays the quotations could be used in. The Quotation Bank has guides for a variety of GCSE texts available on our website, Amazon, or online, so go and have a look, as well as follow us on social media. And if you find this video useful, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe here on YouTube. Today we are looking at a quotation that vividly portrays the animalistic nature of Mr. Hyde and exploring the effect of Stevenson's intense description of the violence and viciousness acted upon Sir Danvers Carew. The murder of Sir Danvers is not the first example the reader has seen of Hyde's evil nature. Earlier in the novel we also observed something that was hellish to see, when Hyde trampled calmly over the child's body and left her screaming on the ground. However, that incident, hellish as it was an accident. Enfield describes how the two ran into one another naturally enough at the corner. The murder of Carew is the opposite. It is a deliberate, prolonged attack. Again, the victim of Hyde's violence is an innocent character, one who was very much surprised and a trifle hurt. Yet this time, rather than keep walking, the reader is told how, and next moment, with ape-like fury, he was trampling his victim underfoot and hailing down a storm of blows, under which the bones were audibly shattered and the body jumped upon the roadway. Not only does Stevenson highlight the evil within Hyde, but he also uses the structure of the novel to depict the increasing levels of diabolic behaviour within him. So what are we going to do with this quotation in our answer, and how can the Quotation Bank help you in your exams? The Quotation Bank makes sure every point you make in an essay clearly fulfills the assessment objectives an examiner will be using when marking your work. So let's begin exploring this quotation by looking at interpretation. The interpretation of each quotation allows you to fulfill assessment objective 1, responding to the text and giving an informed personal response. It is important you don't simply explain what the quotation means, but that you give your personal response to its effect on the reader. In this quotation, we focus on the fact brutal, animalistic violence and evil fill this image. The almost inhuman destruction of another human life highlights the power of evil. There are a few elements to focus on here. As we mentioned, this is not the first time the reader has been exposed to Hyde's evil behaviour, but when it was enacted upon a little girl, Enfield collared my gentleman, and the power of human decency won the day. In this scene, the power of evil has intensified, both in physicality, in its consequences, but also its deliberate nature. As well as this, the quotation further highlights the increased inhumanity of Hyde. In his trampling of the little girl, he was still depicted as a gentleman. Now it is clear Hyde's behaviour is inhuman, and fear is created within the reader, since human rules and behaviours clearly no longer apply. Victorian society existed on rigid rules of behaviour and morality within a strict class system. Whilst many people subtly and privately broke these rules, for a character to do so quite so explicitly and extremely would have been highly troubling. But now we want to delve into some detailed analysis of how Stevenson conveys this idea to the reader. And we're going to start by identifying some literary techniques. As you can see here, using subject-specific terminology correctly, in this case the literary devices used by Stevenson, is a key part of assessment objective 2. and in this quotation, Stevenson uses a variety of specific language choices, as well as simile and metaphor. It is important at this stage to remember, never technique spot, that is, simply identify literary devices, for example, saying, "this is a metaphor," or suggest Stevenson uses imagery as, "it puts an image in the reader's head." When we identify a literary device, it is important to analyse the effect of that specific example. And if you don't know what the technique is, it really doesn't matter. It is the interpretation and analysis that counts. So let's get to that analysis. We have provided as much analysis as possible. It is a great idea to analyse the quotation in detail. You need to do more than just say what it means, but also what effect the language, form and structure has on the reader. And I want to point out here, never use a quotation of this length in one go in an exam. It is far too long. Instead, take out 5 or 6 key parts of it, 1 or 2 words at a time, to really give depth to the point you are making. So let's analyse some specific details. The simile ape-like gives Hyde strong animal characteristics, but also suggests he has not yet evolved from animals. And as he inflicts a metaphorical storm of blows, he is also seen as a brutal force of nature. Ape-like is particularly important. To a readership that would still be grappling with the new Darwinian ideas of evolution, their fears of unevolved man are particularly keenly felt. Hyde's bestial behaviour could be explained away if he was simply an ape. By using the phrase ape-like, the reader has to examine the troubling boundary between man and animal that suggests our innate behaviour is more savage than we would care to admit. Furthermore, humans take comfort in the belief that nature is innately good. The image storm of blows, hailing down, depicts nature as violent and aggressive, and reinforces Jekyll's conclusion that when presented with the options between good and evil, the natural instinct is evil. Hyde's victim becomes totally dehumanised. He is nothing more than his victim, bones, and a body, rather than a person, and is shattered. Throughout the novel there is frequent reference to Hyde being unevolved in a physical sense. Animal imagery and reference to indescribable deformity are commonplace. But perhaps more worrying to the reader is his unevolved sense of morality. Sir Danvers Carew represents societal order and defined legal and governmental structures. By having no respect for the title of Sir, and by seeing him as a victim rather than a superior, suggests power and control rests with Hyde, not the established societal institutions that dictate human morality. Furthermore, the swiftness of these actions is frightening. It all occurs in a moment. A common trait between so many of the characters, Utterson, Enfield, Lanyon, Jekyll, is their rationality and intellect. Despite Jekyll's unscientific balderdash, all 4 men are scientific and methodical in their approaches to life, and this is the basis of a civilized society. For the absolute destructive horror of words such as fury, trampling and hailing, alongside the incomprehensible behaviour continuing despite the fact the bones were audibly shattered, all of which occurs in just a moment, is genuinely terrifying in a world built on controlled human behaviour. There is a great deal to explore in this quotation, but it is important that you only use it if it is relevant to the question you have been set, and so we are going to look at which essays this quotation might prove useful in. Your answer needs to be focused to fulfil Assessment Objective 1. This section helps you choose relevant quotations and link them together for stronger essays. This quotation certainly provides useful exploration of the depiction of violence in the novel. As we have discussed, this quotation depicts a clear escalation from Hyde's incident with the little girl. In both incidents, a version of trampled is used. He trampled calmly over the little girl, but as the Hyde personality begins to overwhelm Jekyll, so too does the intensity of the trampling increase. The violence here is also bestial. earlier violence was human in nature, but this quotation is a vicious, animalistic attack entirely savage in nature. Furthermore, the theme of good and evil is evident here, and the reader is left in no doubt as to which is the more powerful force. As we mentioned, Sir Danvers Carew is a representation of good within society. The maid describes him as an aged, beautiful gentleman with a very pretty manner of politeness, who had an innocent and old-world kindness of disposition. This goodness is destroyed in a moment, and the use of under which elevates evil above good. This is also true of the theme of innocence. All of the points we have just mentioned could be used to explore the idea of destruction of innocence within the novel. Here it is important to remember the maid's narrative viewpoint. She is romantically given, and the scene she begins to observe comes from a dream of musing. The fury and storm of blows instantly turn her dream into a nightmare, and, at the horror of these sights and sounds, the maid fainted. That brings us to the end of our analysis of this quotation for today. I hope you found it useful, and if you have, do give a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos from the Quotation Bank. Don't forget to check out our study guides, where we follow the revision structure you've seen today on 25 key quotations, as well as being full of essay plans, revision activities and more. They're available from our website and other online stores, and follow us on social media. Send us a quotation and we'll try to help you out with your analysis. Thanks for listening and good luck with the exams.